Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Ajibu anil asilatil atiyah. Answer the following questions. Question number 1 is Mata qadim al mudarrisu min as-safari. When did the teacher return from the travel or from the journey? Yes, does anyone remember? Qadima?
Midnight, Ustad?
Yes,
During the
please.
midnight, somewhere.
Yes, Qadima al-barihata, excellent. So he returned or he came back midnight, or we can also say last night. Kam qira'atan qara al-mudarrisu ad-darsa. How many times did the teacher read the lesson? Yes, twice. Yeah. Qara al-mudarrisu ad-darsa qira'ataini. Excellent. Qira'ataini, and we know that qira'atain here is al-maf'ul al-mutlaq, which is used basically for the number. The next lesson is Man alladhi nabbahahu al-mudarrisu lil-julus jilsatan munasibatan. Who did the teacher ask to sit properly or in a proper way? Nabbaha yunabbihu tanbihan is to warn or to notify. So who did the teacher notify to sit properly in a proper way? Does anyone remember? It was Ahmed. Okay, so Ahmad alladhi nabbahahu al-mudarrisu lil-julusi julusan munasiban. And now we know over here that julusan munasiban is also maf'ul al-mutlaq, and it is basically used. We know that when there is an adjective followed by when an adjective follows the object, and that means that this is used for libyan al-nawr, the type, like what type of masdar is this. Now we have the information we have discussed in the beginning of the lesson, a lot of it, and inshallah now we have to go through this text here in Arabic. So warada fi hadha darsi amthilatan lil maf'ul al mutlaqi. We have seen the examples of the absolute object in this lesson. Warada yaridu is to come, and we have seen there many examples have come in this lesson. So al-maf'ul al-mutlaq, does someone remember what is this? We have learned about 5 objects, al-mafa'ilu al-khamsatu, and this is the third one that we have learned in that group. Does anyone remember? And give me the example as well. It's basically the masdar that is used for the purpose of emphasis.
Verbal noun.
Verbal noun, excellent, yeah. And you remember the example from the Quran that we have discussed? There are warattilil Qur'ana tartila. Yeah. So rattil is basically rattala yurattilu tartilan, and then we have the masdar is tartil. So basically masdar is used again, follows the verb for the purpose of emphasis. There are many other reasons why it is used. But here the example that we are discussing is it is used for the purpose of emphasis. Al-maf'ul al-mutlaqu masdarun yudhkaru ba'da fi'lin. So it's basically a masdar which is mentioned after the verb. Min lafdhihi ta'kidan lima'nahu. So why is it used? Number 1, it is used for the purpose of emphasis. So it follows in the words, the same words of the verb that has been used, or it consists of the same root letters, and it is used for the purpose of emphasis. That's number 1. Ta'kidan li'ma'nahu aw bayanan li'adadihi, and number 2, it is used to describe the number, aw bayanan li'naw'ihi, or it is used to describe the type, wa qad yakunu na'iban an fi'lihi, and sometimes it becomes the deputy of the masdar. So it is used as deputy of the fi'l, in fact, of the verb, as we can see over here. Na'iban an fi'lihi, yani it becomes the deputy of the verb. So what does that mean? We will see over here. That means the verb is omitted and the masdar is used instead. Okay, what's the meaning of qad yakunu? And it may be. We know that qad, when it comes with the past tense, it means something that is for sure. Qad aflaha al-mu'minun. But when it comes with the present tense, then it gives the meaning of may or might. وَقَدْ يَكُونُ نَائِبًا عَنْ فِعْلِهِ, and sometimes it may come as a as a naib or deputy of the verb. فالأول نحو وكلم الله موسى تكليما. So the first one, تأكيدا لمعنى, so كلم. And from number 2, and what's the masdar of كلم? تكليما, right? So كلم يكلم تكليما. And we know that it's since it's مفعول مطلق, so we know that مفعول is always mansub. It is always mansub. So here it is used for the purpose of emphasis. Number 2, والثاني نحو ضربني الولد ضربات. This is لبيان عدده, so it's basically used to mention the number. So the boy struck me or hit me several times, or he hit me with many hittings, as we can see here, ضربات. طبع الكتاب طبعتين. The book was printed how many times? Twice. Yeah, the book was printed twice. والثالث, and the third one, which is the most common. And we know that the third one is the masdar is either followed by or after that we have an adjective, or it is used as mudaf, and the noun that follows it will be mudaf ilayh. For example, حفظت القرآن حفظا جيدا. I memorized the Quran very well. We can translate it as like this. And قرأ أحمد الدرس قراءة فاهم. So Ahmad read the lesson the way it should be understood, or the way a person can understood. He read it like this. So now we can see over here that here after hifdan we have the adjective, and here it is used as mudaf, and then the noun that follows it after that is mudaf ilayh. So it can be used in two ways. Either it is used after that we have the adjective, or it is used as the masdar itself is used as mudaf. والرابع, and the fourth one, mahlan. So when we say mahlan, yuqalu lahu, it is called al-masdaru an-naibu an fi'lihi, that basically this masdar is the deputy of the verb. What does it mean? فَمَهْلًا نَابَ عَنْ فِعْلِهِ إِمْهَلْ. So now what happens over here? The verb has been dropped, it has been omitted, and the masdar has been used, and the masdar basically itself communicates the meaning of the verb, which is amhil. So that's why we call it al-masdaru an-naibu an fi'lihi, that it becomes the deputy of its own verb. And the examples, for example, we have learned shukran. So we don't really say ashkuruka shukran, we simply say shukran. So that means shukran is doing the job of ashkuruka. Similarly, we say ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban. So that means that here the masdar is doing the job of the verb, and it says, okay, there is no need for the verb, and I will do the job as well. So that's why it is called al-masdaru an-naibu an fi'lihi. So these are the four things that we have learned about masdar, and then we will see that there are many things that we have learned as well. For example, words which deputize for the masdar. So masdar has its own deputies as well. How many deputies does someone remember? In the beginning of the lesson we discussed in the introduction.
Five.
I guess
7, maybe 7, more than 5.
I guess, yeah, it's 8. Yeah.
8.
All right. So first of all, the words, for example, ayyu, ba'du, and kullu, with the masdar as their mudaf ilayh. So of course these words are used as special mudaf. We have learned about it, that kullu, ba'du, and ayyu, they are used as special mudaf. So that means that the noun that follows it will be mudaf ilayh. قد ينوب عن المصدر ما يدل عليه. So sometimes it deputizes for the masdar, therefore the masdar will be mansub. So قد ينوب, sometimes it deputizes عن المصدر ما يدل عليه, for the masdar which it signifies, or which it talks about. فيعطى حكمه يعطى. What do you think about this? Is it active or passive? Passive, excellent. فيعطى حكمه في كونه منصوبا, and of course it is given, or it becomes mansub. So it comes into the making of mansub. Kaun is the masdar of kana yakunu kaunan. فيعطى حكمه في كونه منصوبا على أنه مفعول مطلق. Why is it mansub? Because it is maf'ul mutlaq. That means this is the absolute object. Minha, from it. So basically what we are learning over here, that kullun, wa ba'dun, wa ayyun. They are used as the deputies of the masdar. Kullun wa ba'dun wa ayyun mudafatan ila al-masdari, and they are used as mudaf to the masdar, because these three words or three nouns, we know that they are always used as mudaf. For example, akhadani al-mudiru ba'd al-muakhadati, and the headmaster punished me to some extent. So ba'd here is the deputy of the masdar. A'rifuhu, a'rafa, arafa ya'rifu, so a'rifuhu kull al-ma'rifati, I know him very well. So here, basically, kull, as we can see over here, is doing the job of the masdar as the deputy. And we have the masdar over here already, al-ma'rifa, but before that we have a noun that is being used as the deputy of the masdar. Similarly, here we have al-mu'akhadha, akhadha yu'akhidhu mu'akhadatan. So this is basically the masdar, and ba'da is doing the job of the deputy of the masdar. And then we have the example from the Quran.
How will we differentiate, or how will we know from the usual usage, Ustad? Like, is there some tricks to find out if this is a deputy or is it
the easiest way to figure out will be we have to look at the verb. So the verb always tells us, and that's the best way to figure out if the noun is used as maf'ul mutlaq or the noun is mansub for other reason. And if you want to know that if it is used as maf'ul mutlaq or the absolute object, then we have to look at the verb. For example, akhadha, and after akhadha we can see we have the masdar as well, mu'akhadha. So there are two things that will tell us that ba'da is used as masdar over here.
As a deputy for it.
Does it make sense?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Then we have فَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. So again, here we can see that ayya is basically being used as the masdar of munqalab. Munqalab, as we know that it is used as it is used in two ways. Munqalab, we know that this is the passive form of inqalaba yanqalibu, and similarly we know that it can be used for the place, munqalab, the place of return. And those who do wrong will come to know how they will end up. Number two, عدده نحو زرته ثلاث زيارات and ضربته 20 ضربة. So a number with the masdar as its tamyiz. So basically number here is being used as the masdar, and it is also, we know that the number has always, whenever we have the number after that, we have something called tamyiz. Inshallah, we will learn about it in the following lessons, where it is basically used to clarify the confusion if there is any confusion. So thalatha, and when we say thalatha, then after that what thalatha, and then we say thalatha ziyaratin, 3 visits. So zurtuhu thalatha ziyaratin, I visited him 3 times, and darabtuhu 20 darbatan, I hit him 20 times. That's a lot. Okay, then the third one is sifatuhu, an adjective of the masdar, nahwu fahimtu darsa jayyidan, ay fahman jayyidan. So it was basically fahimtu darsa fahman jayyidan, and fahman has been omitted. Why fahman has been omitted? Because the adjective is working as the deputy of the masdar. So it says, it tells masdar, okay, there is no need for you to come up over here, I will do the job for you. So that is the third thing. Then the fourth one is very important, and I think we are learning about it for the first time, which is called ismul masdar. We discussed about it in the beginning of the lesson, in the previous lesson, and now we will have more information about it. What is basically ismul masdar? It is a word which has the same meaning as the masdar, but has less letters than it. So it has less letters than the masdar. They will have the same root letters, but the only difference is this ismul masdar is basically a masdar itself. It will have less letters than the word or than the verb itself. Ismul masdari nahwu kallamtu kalaman. So kallama, and then we have kalaman. Yeah. So kallama yukallimu takliman. But here, what do we have? We have kalaman. So ismul masdari ismun yadullu ala ma yadullu alayhi al-masdaru. So it basically signifies the same thing as the masdar signifies. ولكن حروفه أقل منه. However, its letters are less. So it functions the same way as the masdar functions by itself. However, it always has one or two letters that are less than the real masdar. For example, takliman and kalaman. Takliman has, I think, 5 letters and kalaman has 4 or something like this. So it will always have something which is less than the real masdar. فتوضؤ should be فتوضؤ مصدر الوضوء اسم مصدر. So we have the verb, for example, توضأ يتوضأ. Let's have a look over here. توضأ يتوضأ توضؤا. That means to make wudu or to make ablution, right? And what's the masdar over here? Masdar is tawaddu'un. And what is ismal masdar? Ismal masdar is wudu'un. So we can see over here that here wudu'un has one letter less than tawaddu'un. So wudu, as we use it in everyday life, so the word wudu is not a masdar, it is ismal masdar. وَالتَّقْبِيلُ مَصْدَرٌ وَالْقُبْلَةُ اسم مصدر. And similarly, taqbil is masdar and qublatu is ismal masdar. For example, qabbala yuqabbilu taqbilan, kissing, and then we have qublatun is basically the masdar that is used instead of taqbilun. Taqbilun is also used. However, if you want to use ismal masdar, and it is used as well, so it will be qublatun. So this is what we say ismal masdar, and here we have more examples over here of ismal masdar. So generally it comes on the pattern of fa'alun. What is the pattern? Fa'alun. So we have sallama yusallimu taslimun. Taslimun is the real masdar, and salamun is what? Ismal masdar. So we say assalamu alaikum. So yeah, so this is ismal masdar. It's on the pattern of fa'alun. Fa'alun is very common pattern, and then we have 2 more patterns. And then we have adhana yu'adhinu ta'dhinun. But the masdar generally we use in everyday life is adhanun. You might have never heard anyone saying ta'dhinun, right? We say hana waqtul adhani, yani it's time for adhan, or we say adhan as well, right? So generally so what happens, ismal masdar basically is used in place of masdar in some of the cases, and it is on the pattern of fa'alun, as we can see over here. Similarly, we have wadda'a. You remember the meanings, right? I hope so. Wadda'a yuwaddi'u tawdiyan is to say farewell. Ma wadda'aka rabbuka wa ma qala, as we have in the Quran. And then the masdar will be wada'un, that will be, ismal masdar. Tallaqa yutalliqu tatliqan. However, the masdar, ismal masdar is used instead of tatliqun, and in the Quran we know the word that has been used is talaqun and not tatliqun. Similarly, we have kallama yukallimu taklimun, and ismal masdar is kalamun. Then we have matta'a yumatti'u tamti'an, and then we have mata'un.
This is also a common word in the Quran.
Very common, yeah. ما هذه الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع. Yeah, متاع الغرور as well, yeah. And you know, mata'a is basically something
which gives
that is
some kind of a temporary pressure or something like that.
Yeah, also it's something that is useful, but you can't really enjoy it. Mata'. So, for example, spoon is something, or fork is something that is useful. We use it for eating, but we can't really enjoy the spoon or the fork. We enjoy the food, right? So that's why we will say that fork or that spoon is mata', and the rest that we are getting in is our food, or that is enjoyment. Similarly, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Yeah, the life of the dunya is nothing but it's a deception.
Matal ulahin,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. So it's a مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Yes, it's a like place of or thing of
temporary enjoyment.
temporary enjoyment.
A source or something like that means. It means
Yeah,
like
مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Yeah. So it's like nothing but deception. So as they translate it. So as I said, mata' is something that it is useful, but it is not something that you can enjoy it, right? Then we have salla yusalli tasliyatan, and then the word that we use is salatun, right?
So do salat, salam, everything is there.
Yeah, all of them are ismal masdar. Qabbala yuqabbilu taqbilun, and then qublatun. This is also one of the patterns of ismal masdar. Fu'latun. but fu'latun is not very common. And similarly, we have tawadda'a, yatawadda'u, tawaddu'un, and ism al-masdar is wudu'un. It is on the pattern of fu'ulun. So the most common pattern is fa'alun. Fu'latun is possible, fu'ulun is possible, and I think I know only one word. Allah knows the best as of now, and that comes on the pattern of fu'ulun that we use in everyday life, and we have the word wudu'un. Wudu'un. So all of these are ism al-masdar. So is this clear now? And we have here, we can see over here that the real masdar has 5 letters, and ism al-masdar has always 1 letter less than that. So this one over here has 4 letters. So always there will be 1 letter less than the real masdar. That's why I think it's called ism al-masdar. Number 5, a cognate masdar. It is basically, as we can see over here, the masdar of the mujarrad verb, while the verb used in the sentence is mazid. So in the sentence, what do we have? We have thulathi or rubai mazid. But the masdar that is being used is what? That is the verb that has 3 root letters. A thulathi, yeah. So when we say ishtaraytu hadha sayyarata shira'an mubashiran, I bought this car directly. So we know that the ishtara, yashtari, ishtira'an. So the masdar of ishtara is what? Ishtara. But the word that has been used over here is what? Shira'un, which is basically the masdar of shara, yashri. And also something very important we will see over here, that the verbs generally that we have over here, for example, shara is not very common. The verb ishtara is very common. But the masdar ishtira'un is not very common, and shira'un is very common. You might have seen, like if you live in the Middle East, shira'un wa bay'un, buying and selling. So you will never ever see the word ishtira'un. You will always see the word, for example, buying and selling, especially the mobile phone shops. So they always write shira'un wa bay'un, buying and selling. And then we have this example from the Quran, wa tuhibbun al-mala hubban jamma, and you love wealth with abounding love. So hubban, as we know, is the masdar of habba yahibbu, which is very rarely used. As we can see here, the verb habba yahibbu is very rarely used. Whereas the masdar of mazid will be ahabba yuhibbu ihbabun. So what's the masdar of mazid fi? Ihbabun. And this masdar is very rarely used. Ihbabun is very rarely used, but hub is used a lot, which is used for love of something, right? And similarly, so that's also something very interesting that we can see over here, that the masdar that is being used is the cognate masdar, and the verb itself is from mazid fi, but the masdar is from the thulathi mazid, thulathi mujarrad, the verbs that have 3 root letters. Similarly, we have more examples over here. For example, tabassamtu ibtisaman, I smiled. And here we can see that ibtisaman is the masdar of ibtasama, which belongs to ifta'ala, whereas the verb tabassama belongs to bab tafa'ala, and both have the same meaning. So here, tabassamtu ibtisaman, they are 2 different babs, however, they have the same root letters. So that's why it's possible to say tabassamtu tabassuman, and you can also say tabassamtu ibtisaman. Tabassama belongs to bab tafa'ala, and both have the same meaning, yes. And in the Quran we have watabattal ilayhi tabatila, and devote yourself to him with complete devotion. So the purpose of that example was to see the example from the Quran here.
Ibtila, something like that, right?
That is that's ibtala yabtali ibtilaan is to suffer, but here we have tabattala
originally what should be there, Ustad? But tabattal ilayhi ibtilaan, it should be like that.
It will be basically tabattulan.
Tabattulan, okay.
Tabattulan, yeah. But we know that tabtil is the masdar of from number 2, right? Battala yubattilu tabtilan, and tabattal is from number 5. So now we can see over here that we have here the verb that we have is tabattal, which belongs to from tafa'ala, whereas masdar is from fa'ala. So we know that tafa'ala is from number 5, and fa'ala is from number 2. So it should have been, as you said, watabattal ilay. And whenever we say this, of course, we mean min dun al-Quran or min ghayr al-Quran, of course, for the purpose of learning. And whatever is in the Quran, that is haqq, right? So وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ tabattulan, but in fact, instead of that, what we have in the Quran, وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا, and that's the beauty of the Arabic language and the beauty of the Quran. Then we have masdarun yulaqihi fil ishtiqaqi. So basically the same thing that we have learned over here, that the verb, the masdar will be the same as the derived form, derived from the verb, yeah. And the same example that we have discussed over here. So this part is in Arabic and the first part is in English. Number 6 is the demonstrative pronoun with the masdar as it is, as its badal. As we say, isharatun wa musharun ilayhi, and also we call it badal. So, atastaqbiluni hadha al-istiqbali, do you accord me this kind of reception? So here what happened? Hadha, basically, we know istaqbala, yastaqbilu, istiqbalan, right? So we have istiqbal is the masdar over here, but hadha is additional over here. So why it is additional? Because it is the deputy of the masdar. Let's not forget that we are discussing about the deputies of the masdar. Here hadha is the maf'ul mutlaq, and it is fi mahalli nasbin, and al-istiqbal is its badal. So we say isharatun wa musharun ilayhi, or we can also say that this is badal and this is mubdal minhu. So ism al-ishara nahwu atastaqbiluni hadha al-istiqbali. Then we have a pronoun referring to the masdar. A pronoun referring to the masdar. For example, ijtahadtu ijtihadan lam yajtahidhu ghayri. So this one here basically, who refers to ijtihad, as we can see over here. So I worked hard in a way nobody else did. So here the pronoun who stands for ijtihad, and as we can see over here. And in Arabic, what do we say? Damiruhu al-aidu ilayhi. And there is a pronoun that refers back to the, or which returns to the masdar itself. For example, ijtahadtu ijtihadan lam yajtahidhu ghayri. So who is basically coming back or returning to the masdar. And the 8th one is a synonym of the masdar. Aishtu hayatan sa'idatan. So here basically hayatan, as we can see over here, is basically it should have been aishatan, but instead of aishatan we have what? Hayatan. Here hayatan, life, is synonymous with aishatan, derived from asha. So we know that asha yaishu aishatan. So that's the real masdar. But instead of masdar, we have something which is called muradif, or something that is synonym or synonym of the same word. So muradifuhu ishtu hayatan sa'idan, yani sa'idatan, sorry, because hayat is feminine. So basically what we have, the synonym of the masdar. So hayatan is the synonym of aishatan. يجوز حذف عامل المفعول المطلق الدال على النوع والعدد. And we have learned that it is permissible to drop the verb that comes in front of the masdar. For example, quduman mubarakan, ay qadimta quduman mubarakan. So there is no need to say qadimta quduman mubarakan. Simply quduman mubarakan, shukran wa afwan wa ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban will do the job. So there is no need to use the verb before that. So it's basically similar to being the deputy of the masdar, where we have seen that it doesn't need the verb itself. The masdar is enough for itself, by itself. However, so you might be thinking, like, what's the difference? We have seen that it can be naibul masdar, right? It can be the naib of the verb, sorry, naibul fail, right? So what's the difference if it is used as naibul fail, or here we have quduman mubarakan? Here also the verb has been dropped. Here the verb has been dropped, but it is followed by adjective, quduman mubarakan. Whereas if you say that it is only used as, for example, shukran, then there is no need to use any adjective after that. So when you say shukran over there, it is being used as naibul fail, the deputy of the verb. For example, ashkuruka shukran. But when you say quduman mubarakan, here it is basically qadimta quduman mubarakan, and here it is the masdar is followed by adjective.
Shukran jazilan, Ustad. Then what is
shukran
that, Ustad?
jazilan. Yeah, shukran jazilan. Yeah, that's like when you want to add to that. Yeah, exactly. So they also say shukran and shukran jazilan as well.
Yeah. I didn't get this point to start.
So I think the basic idea is in that when we say al masdaru and naib masdaru, which is basically naibul fail, that is taking over the place of the verb.
So
And
the
here,
adjective should surely follow it in
yeah,
that case.
the here it says yajuzu hadfu amil al maf'uli. Here it is permissible to drop it. But I think over there, if you remember in the previous lesson, we discussed that it's wajib to drop it. So when you say shukran, you cannot say ashkuruka shukran. There is wajib. But here, what do we have? It is yajuz, and it is permissible. Yeah. So we can either say. Also, we can either say quduman mubarakan, or we can say qadimta quduman mubarakan. And both of them will be okay.
Right. Okay.
So alhamdulillah, it's clear now. So here is a summary. So the first thing that we have learned that the words like kullu wa ba'du wa ayu, they are used as naibul masdar. And then we have seen that the number is used as naibul masdar. That's number 2. Examples we have gone through, so there is no need to go through the examples once again. Then similarly, an adjective of masdar can be used as, so we have, for example, here, jayyidan, and similarly, kullu and ba'du and ayu, and here we have thalatha. So this is basically the summary that the words kullu, ba'du, ayu, similarly the number, and the third one the adjective. And then we have ismal masdar, something very, very interesting that we have learned today. For example, when we say kallamani kalaman shadidan, he spoke to me harsh words. So this is ismal masdar where it has been used instead of takliman. So instead of saying kallamani takliman, what do we say? Kallamani kalaman shadidan. And the fifth one we have learned about the cognate masdar, where we have the verb is from the mazid fi, but the masdar is from the thalathi. And then ismal ishara being used as masdar, as we can see over here. And then number 7, we have learned that there is a pronoun that refers back to the masdar itself. And the 8th thing that we have learned that we can use a synonym of the masdar. So everything, alhamdulillah, all of this information is really, it's interesting, but of course it's a lots of information, and inshallah, with the passage of time, if you practice and if we practice all together, we will inshallah get hold of it. Now, before, I thought we could finish over here, but I thought our knowledge is fresh over here, so it's better to do the exercise so that we can implement the rules that we have learned over here. Okay, so استخرج من الدرس أمثلة المفعول المطلق وما ناب عن المصدر واذكر نوعه في كل منها. This one we have done in the lesson. When we did the text, we have discussed everything in detail. So number 4, عين المفعول المطلق فيما يأتي واذكر نوعه. Now we have to specify المفعول المطلق, the absolute object, and we have to mention the type as well. So the first one is أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. Okay.
This is now.
Now, yeah, excellent. لبيان now. Okay, excellent. And why do we say that? Because we have
adjective follows that.
ذكرا, and after that we have adjective. Excellent. سألني الطالب سؤال النحويين فأجبته إجابة المفسرين. So the student asked me the question of a grammarian, and I gave him the answer of a mufassir, someone who explains something in detail. Yeah, tafsir. Okay. So this one is used for number 2. Is it for adad? Where is the adad?
سألني
الطالب سؤال النحويين. For now,
this is مضاف and مضاف إليه.
Yeah, so for now, there are 2 possibilities. Either we have adjective after that, or we have mudaf alayh. Excellent. So the first one is for bayan now, and here this one and this one, they are also, both of them are libayan now. And why is that? Here we have adjective, and here we have masdar is mudaf, and after that, the noun that we have is mudaf ilayh. Su'al, we know that su'al is the masdar of
But
sa'ala,
I don't
yas'alu
understand why
su'alan.
this Mufassirin has to become Libya Masdar Ustad, right?
La la, ijaba. Ajaba
Ijaba.
yujibu ijabatan. So
Okay.
ijaba
Ajabtuhu
is the
ijaba.
masdar,
Okay.
yeah.
This is again the mudaf ilayh. Okay.
Mudaf ilayh, yeah. So here basically the real masdar is being used as mudaf. And here after the masdar we have adjective. So two things that
This
we
is
need to remember, okay? And
mudaf.
similarly, su'alun is the real masdar of sa'ala, yas'alu su'alan is the real masdar. But here the real masdar is being used as mudaf, and after that we have mudaf ilayh. Then we have wallahu ambatakum min al-ardi nabata thumma yu'idukum fiha wa yukhrijukum ikhraja.
This is
Yes.
maf'ul mutlaq.
Yeah, excellent. للتأكيد المعنى يعني the real
أنبتناهم نباتا
yeah
and
يخرجكم إخراجا أخرج يخرج إخراجا yeah. Right, so here we can see that this is used for للتأكيد المعنى. وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما.
This is
Yes.
also للتأكيد لمعنى.
لبيان النوع أو توكيد
حبا جما.
أكلا لما, so أكلا أكل يأكل أكلا, but after that we have the adjective that follows it. And similarly حبا has adjective after that, حبا جما, loving
Lamma is an
lovingly.
adjective, Ustad.
Yeah, yes. This is not lamma that we have learned. This is a noun itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this should be now.
It's a noun because it has tanween, you know, the lamma that we have learned, that is a letter and that is mabniun al-fatha. Lamma.
No, this is Libyan now.
Yeah, so both of them are Libyanin now because they have adjective after that. Sajadtu sajdataini. This one should be easier.
Lil adad.
Yeah, lil adad, excellent. I prostrated twice. ثم إني أعلنت لهم وأسررت لهم إسرارا.
This is maful mutlaq. Lil mani.
تأكيد المعنى, excellent. Okay. And then we have the poetry over here, something which we really, and I would say I also need to learn as well. I started with, what do we say, with the sarf and the nahv, or we can say both vice versa, with the grammar and then with the tasrif conjugation. And then alhamdulillah, as of now, I'm working on balagha, which is the rhetoric. And the fourth thing will be poetry. So poetry is something which is really in Arabic, it's like not so easy to understand, but inshallah, I will try my level best. However, if we are able to understand as-sarf wa nahw wal balagha, inshallah, that will be enough for us to understand the Quran and even to teach it. فَصَبْرًا فِي مَجَالِ الْمَوْتِ صَبْرًا. So the shair says that you should be patient during the time of death. And what kind of patience we should have? Sabra, yeah. So in the beginning, what do we have? For sabran. So in the beginning we have sabran, right? So why do we have this?
This is twice he has given this, right?
Yeah, it's twice, but this is in the beginning. We are focused on what we have in the beginning, isn't it? So what do we have in the beginning? Neither. If we have, that means that it is being used as a deputy of the verb, deputy of the verb. So it will be isbir sabran fi majal al-maut sabra fama nail al-juludi bimustata'in. Fama nail al-juludi nala yanilu nailan, sorry, khuludi, I'm sorry, that is eternity. Fama nail al-khuludi bimustata'in. And it is not in everyone's access to reach the eternity. So what the underlying meaning is that everyone has to die. Nala janilu nailan and khalada yakhludu khuludan. So the reason why I know these ones, because they have been used in the Quran. And similarly, mustata', as we know that istata'a yastati'u istata'atan is to be able to do something, right? Fama nailul khuludi bi mustata'in, and it is not in anyone's access to have eternity. Eventually, everyone has to die. So that's the beauty of the Arabic, and that's the beauty of the poetry, that when we want to say something like directly and when we want to say something being as a poet. Then we have Hajjan Mabruran. Hajjan Mabruran. And Barra.
This is also a deputy, is it?
Yeah, no. Here it is because I think it is libyan now because it has adjective after that. So
Okay,
hajjan
mabrur,
mabruran.
that is
Yeah,
accepted one. Okay.
yeah, accepted one. So hajja yahujju hajjan and barra yabirru birran. Yeah, as we say birral walidaini. So barra yabirru birran fahuwa barun and then mabrurun. So that's why we say birrul walidaini, to be being like kind to the parents, or doing something which is basically paying off to the parents. So something hajj that pays you off, something that gives you hasanat. So that's why anyone who comes from hajj, we simply say hajjan mabruran. Then we have talal imamu tilawatan jamilatan. The imam recited in a beautiful recitation.
Now,
Now, yeah. And why do we say that? So here, sorry,
because
we forgot.
Jamilatan,
So this one here is for Sabran
Naibul
Sabran
file.
Naib, yeah. And then we have Libyan now, and we also have Libyan now, because we have Tilawatan, and after that we have the adjective Jamilatan.
And I also
Alham-
read it, Ustad, yesterday in some fatwa or something like that. Even if it is something like an indecent poetry, also it is doesn't matter, because it was released that the Quran was if we don't have the knowledge of poetry, then we will not be able to understand the Quran much better. So even to gain the knowledge, we can read the poetry so that we can understand in what context it was. Something like that. I'll just share with you, Ustad.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I do agree. And as I said, that should be our last stage, the fourth one.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, so that at least, inshallah, we are able to understand the Quran and
Because
the
they used
meaning
to
of the
write about
Quran.
women and horses and
I
something which was
agree.
not,
Yeah,
something like that.
most of
And
the poetry would be about things like that. Yes, I agree. So it is a very, like, it helps a lot, to be honest. It's a helping tool to understand more, I mean, the Arabic language and the Quran. However, inshallah, the way we started, like book number 1, 2, and 3, so I'm sure, inshallah, that now we know a lot about sarf and nahw. And inshallah, if Allah permisses us, inshallah, we will also use al-balagha as well, where we will learn a little bit more about the Quran and the Arabic language itself, and then inshallah we will start the analysis of the Quran as well.
Ustaz,